Hello everyone, welcome back. It's me. I am back with a handheld camera. Short video. It's been a while since I've posted, and I want to talk about a couple things. First thing is that I will be back to consistent because I just realized at some point it's like you're not gonna have the magical time to go and make videos. You have to actually sit down, look at the camera, and talk. And that's kind of one of the things that is very important to me. People in schools, people on this platform, people who are in my life. I wish that people spend more time just speaking your mind. Speak your mind, and I want to do that with YouTube. That's always what I've always wanted to do. Honestly, whether it's with people I know, my friends, the internet, speaking my mind on several different topics, speaking my mind on things you care about, things that are in your lives, things that you realize, because it's wisdom. Whether you accept it, reject it, whether you masticate on it or blow it off, it's really knowledge that could really possibly be of value to someone. Something that I realized today, I was sitting in my library, and it's not a regular library, for it had many books that were not common to any student. Essentially, it was not open access to the average UT Dallas student because it was in the honors college or whatnot. And they had a stack of textbooks there, and as I looked through the textbooks, my interest was spiked by the range of topics, and I realized that the number of the textbooks actually had the contents of which I was studying in the classes I'm taking currently. So I pulled out a neuroscience book, started reading it. I was extremely fascinated by the depth of which I already knew, and also the information that I did not know. And obviously you'd say, yes, that's the point of a textbook, Samuel. But it was so interesting for me, again, just to see all that information there. And then I pulled out it was followed by a physics textbook, where I had recently developed a keen interest for physics. After discovering modern physics, I was stemmed off of quantum physics from chemistry. Quantum essentially meaning packets of information, and from that I delved into modern physics with Einstein and relativity and gravity, because I had known of classical physics with like Newton's 3 laws. Anyway, the point is, I saw some practice problems in there. I remember the test I have next week and did some practice problems. And it was fun. It was genuinely fun studying. It was a good study session. I learned stuff in that hour and a half. And I put the physics textbook down. I was about to leave. I saw an organic chemistry textbook on the bottom shelf. I reached down, picked it up, looked through there. And again, interest was piqued by the number of topics I was familiar with, as well as recognizing the topics that we were going to talk about in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. And I just read ahead. And the textbook gave a recommendation actually to use organic chemistry models. They're like little plastic toys, and I was reminded of the toys that they had in the library, the lounge area. So I went up, asked some students where it was. I found it, brought it back to my table, and I started playing with the movements, because the thing about organic molecules is that they actually spin. So if you look at this mic right here, if I show you this mic, this mic has a wire in it, but if I pull it out, so this right here is symmetrical. If I make it straight up, it's symmetrical like this, and because it's symmetrical, this is achiral, which essentially means that it's superimposable. If I took a mirror of this, if I reflected this object onto a mirror, it would still be the same object. However, if I took this mic and bent it like this object is still achiral, because if I reflected this, then it would look like this in a mirror. So if I reflected this in a mirror, it would look like this. left and right differences. And essentially, if you imagine something that can't be reflected in a mirror, and it's not the same object, because this is the same object after reflecting it. There's some certain objects in organic chemistry, when you reflect it, they are simply not superimposable, and those objects are called chiral. They are described as chiral for having that individual specific feature. Anyway, the point is, learning is so fun, and though the tragedy of college, of modern education, is simply that with all the information right there at our fingertips, forget technology, bro. People in the 1800s had books, they had textbooks. The modern institution of college, grades, homework assignments, with like the connotation that they're due and that they just gotta finish them, and people just want to get sleep and they don't understand it, and there's frustration and they gotta go to the office hours to understand it, and they have to look up the answers to go through the project. It's just... And then there's the pre-med culture. There's the mixing of a lot of young men and women together in one area for a very long amount of time. There's professors who don't have enough time to teach their students important things about life, like learning science, like basic mentorship things that a student would have gone through had it been that they had stayed with their family for a bit longer, or they had access to a mentor who would speak to them on sensitive topics that they just need to know. And with all of this information just in a textbook, because you gotta realize, like, this organic chemistry textbook, or forget that, physics textbook, the first 200 pages was my entire is my entire first semester of physics. And then, the rest of the book goes into electricity and magnetism, and then it goes into modern physics, and then it goes to quantum physics, and then it expands. I bet in that neuroscience textbook that I pulled out, if I had time to read through and study every single big point of that textbook, I would be able to accomplish half of my entire degree in neuroscience just from one book. I knew of this, but I was reminded again very plainly that this world is a bunch of systems, and it takes a lot for a person to break free of the system. I had a conversation with a TA, and if you don't know what a TA is, it's what professor, when they teach, they have assistants who help them grade papers, and these assistants are graduate students. And I had a conversation with a graduate student because I had taken a test, I wanted to look over it, and I can't look at my test without a TA, so went to her office. She's like this second year PhD, so relatively young in academia, and I asked her about her research after. Well, I don't know why, but she just wasn't leaving. I was done looking at the test, and I'm like, yeah, thank you so much, and she just sat there, so she didn't leave. So I'm like, okay. And I wasn't in her office. We were just like meeting up outside her office. So anyway, since she didn't leave, I just asked her about her research, and then that question ended up to be an hour-long talk. And long story short, she studies microbiology. She studies a specific type of disease in which the root of this disease is bacteria, and thus she studies antibiotics. And as you might know, antibiotics is a very interesting field because it's the science of bacterial resistance. And if you remember anything from ninth grade biology, bacteria always develops resistance. And I told her that the science of resistance can't ever be cracked. Like if you create a drug that permanently eradicates any sort of bacteria as a solution, like this sort of medicine, I don't believe such a thing is going to be possible because bacteria always develops resistance. And I told her, you know this, right? And she's like, well, yeah. And I said, well, then isn't your entire research a fruitless venture? I told her that labs, the thousands of labs across America and even the world, are trying to solve resistance. And you're taking the same approach. I mean, no offense, no humble offense to her, but her lab takes the same approach as everyone else. And quite simply, antibiotics as a temporary treatment in which she knows will not solve the root of the problem. So I discussed with her a couple other solutions. She's like, yeah, we could do that, but it's hard. And I'm like, well, why don't you do that? Because everyone else is doing, like, trying this one approach and it's not working. And she told me, well, we have to try. But Samuel, we have to try. Bro, everybody's trying. Everyone's been trying for the past 100 years. And then we talked about what she was going to do after PhD. Like, she wants to go into industry. Oh, man. And as I walked out of the research facility, going back to my next class or whatever, I was just thinking, everybody in this world is trapped. I was going to use a different word, but I'm just going to go with trapped. You're in college, you get bad grades, you're trapped. You're in college, you get good grades, you're still trapped. You're in college, you get mid grades, you're trapped. You're in college, you are a president of 2 clubs, you're trapped. You're a professor, trapped. A graduate student, trapped. Because everybody's in the system. Everybody's was trapped from before they even entered school, you know? Because the systems are just built up all around us. There's another idea I was learning in my philosophy class called techne and nature. Techne and poiesis. And these German philosophers, because techne and poiesis are German words, I have it right here, I wrote it down. You can take a look here. Here it is. Gestel versus Geibert. Gestel and Geibert. Essentially talking about how everything in our lives is technology. Everything that we interact with is a result of unnatural phenomenon. Like if you take this microphone for example, from the truck that brought it here, to the factory it was created in, to the polymers that was melted and brought together to form this shape, to the plant where these substances was derived from. All these steps were unnaturally brought together to form this object, this microphone. And even beyond that, we step back, we look at our house, the place where we reside, it's technology. The place, the food we eat, none of that's genuine. When's the last time you had real food? All of this, it's impossible. It's utterly impossible. It's a ridiculous statement to say that anyone nowadays could go without technology. To revert back to the olden days where there were simply no technology, I don't know if that's the right answer. But I know for sure that there is damage being caused to the human race by not only the reliance on technology, but the impact that it's having on our mental, on our physical. And the point of this is that technology also comes in systems, like college. And while it is a heroic, a nice story, a cute almost story to break free of college, to drop out, to start a business, maybe go to Dubai. The reality is that this is life, and this is the world that God has put us in. And so the question is a question that you must turn to God and ask, well, what, God, then, do you want me to use my life for? And while you know it's for His glory, how specifically would you focus your time and your energy and your mental into something that truly blesses God? And I think that is a beautiful venture to do in your life. And thus, I want to end on this note. In the past, 17 minutes, I've just spoken my mind. And well, yeah, coming weeks, regular, proper YouTube videos where I'm not like holding the camera will return, and look forward to that. I encourage you, if you've gotten to this point, to speak your mind on topics, and I don't necessarily mean on the internet, with people people you love, people who you even don't love. Speak your mind, because the tongue is very, very powerful. Even from a neuroscience perspective, it's powerful. Jesus knew this, that's for sure. So with that, I'll see you around much more. I'll be posting more. What's funny is that these lights set up right here, like the nice blues and red, such a barrier. I've been building a lot of walls around me recording, like time, pressures, scripting. The lights, for some reason, intimidates me to record, but I will be back because I am not going to drop YouTube. Raw, let's go!